we are just down the road from Kalamazoo this week at the Galesburg Speedway to contest the 7th race of the AST Voltson Super Trucks season, and already before the race even begins, we have a number of storylines coming from the DNQ list. Jenny Jackson, Amberly Weiss, Aiden Shepard, Jay McCarthy, Wilson Timothy, Danny Vigo, Danella Jacobson, Nick Moss, David Bloom, and Homer Caswell, who was attempting to make his debut today, all missed the show, and some very notable names on that list include Wilson Timothy, and of the two Team Michigan trucks of Weiss and Jacobson. All three of them are very much in the hunt for the championship, and this is going to be a big blow to their title efforts. They're going to have to hope that Brian Kelly and the rest of their championship rivals don't make up too much ground on them whilst they sit out the 50-lap race here at Galesburg today. Trouble would strike the number 98 Isani of Adam Ramirez during the pace laps and force the North Carolinian driver to report to the pit lane just moments before the green flag, leaving 22 trucks to take the start, led by Alex DeFranco in the number 94 Lycoya, who has taken his first career pole position. The 62 Sara of Camden Rhodes starts on his outside, and Rhodes gets a good jump off the line over DeFranco, but he is not able to beat him into turn 1, and as you can see, there is very little in the way of banking here at Galesburg. The inside line is very much the preferred groove, although if you know what you're doing, you can make that outside line work, and it looks like Rhodes is doing a very good job at doing so, keeping up with the 94 with Zach Churchill right in tow. They're going to battle side by side for the lead for the first few laps, but Grant Edwards isn't going to wait for them to settle that battle. He wants to go for the lead himself, and he's going to force it 3 wide underneath DeFranco down the backstretch and take the lead just like that. Edwards, the EF5 rookie, is now leading laps for the first time this season, and it's rather a surprise that it's taken him this long because he's been consistently one of the fastest drivers on a weekly basis. However, bad luck has plagued that team ever since Flat Rock, seemingly. That's the whole season minus MIS. Ben Maddox and Jeffer Jackson have followed him through on the inside to take over the second and third positions, but we've got a caution on lap number 5 as Brian Kelly turns Jason Miller around down the backstretch, and Samantha Spires gets turned as well. The Kalamazoo winner in trouble very early on at the going, but very little damage has been done to all parties involved. Here's a look at what happened to the 87. She got turned off the corner by Tiffany Rogers, who made a bit of contact as Spires slowed up for the wreck, and Brianna Princehorn got a small piece of that. All drivers involved will continue on, as Edwards leads again to the restart. Ben Maddox runs wide through turn 2 and opens up the door for Jeffer Jackson to move on by into the second spot. And as you can see, Adam Ramirez has rejoined the race. He is currently 3 laps down, but it wouldn't take long for caution 2 to come out, as this time it's Kevin Thompson who's going to be turned down the backstretch after a little bit of contact from Michael McKinley. Thompson spins harmlessly to the inside, but at that point the yellow was already out. Edwards leads once more on the restart over the 500 of Jeffer Jackson, but immediately jumping to the inside and trying to take that spot away is the 90R of Brandon Haxley, who is making his first start here today, and not a moment later he's going for the lead on Grant Edwards, following the 98 of Ramirez through on the inside. Haxley and his team come from the Eldora Speedway in Ohio. They brought a truck up here to Galesburg just for this race, and as you can tell by looking at it, there isn't a whole lot of funding going into it. Not a decal to be found on that truck, but it has just taken the lead of the race. That's a very impressive feat in his debut for Haxley. But the yellow's going to come out again through another incident in the midfield as John Bennett gets turned across the front of Alex DeFranco, the pole sitter, down the front stretch. Those two were in a 3-wide battle with Michael McKinley that got a little too tight off the corner. Here we are on board the 94, who has slowly been dropping towards the back. He's been stuck on the outside lane, and the 58 being turned across the front of him is certainly not going to help. All 3 drivers will be able to continue on as Haxley leads on the restart over Edwards and the 62 of Camden Rhodes, who's moved himself back into 3rd. Rhodes goes for the 2nd spot on the 79 on the restart, and Haxley is not able to get down to the inside in time to block the 62. Once more, it is very impressive for this dirt track team and racer to come seemingly from nowhere. We didn't even know that they were going to be racing here until days before the event, but nonetheless, he's going to have to relinquish the lead to Camden Rhodes as the 62 goes on by, and there's another crash down the front stretch. Jeffer Jackson just got turned into the wall. Let's take a look at what happened there. And that was a result of Brian Kelly pushing way up into Jackson and forcing him to shove Grant Edwards into the wall. Jackson gets the truck righted, but Edwards is going to fall all the way to the back. Kelly, in the meantime, got away from that incident unscathed and is going to take over the 2nd spot from Brandon Haxley. The 6 truck didn't qualify all that well for this race, but as we've seen from him many times in the past, he has stormed his way all the way to the front. But before he can make a run at Camden Rhodes for the lead, he's going to overdrive turn 3 and nearly hit the wall off at turn 4, giving a couple of positions to Brandon Haxley and Zach Churchill, who moves himself into 3rd. Bailey Bliss now going for the 4th position. Speaking of drivers who have worked their way towards the front, Bliss started even further down the order than Kelly. She is showing that both of the EF5 trucks are fast this weekend as she works on getting around the 6. Right behind her is Tiffany Rogers in the 78 truck, the legendary motorsports racer, who has not had a very eventful rookie season, not with a whole lot of results that is, but she's doing very well here today. Right behind her is the 95 of Alex Rastin, who has taken over this truck from Juan Cortez. Midwest Motors decided to swap Rastin and Cortez in their respective trucks, so the rookie will be contesting the rest of the season in this full-time 95 truck, and he's doing a very good job in his first race in it, running in 7th. Right behind him in 8th is Archer Helms, who started the race in dead last. Helms was the last driver to qualify for this race and almost DNQ'd himself, but luckily for him, he managed to make the show, and he is making the most of it with a top 10 run. Bliss now going for the 3rd position as she moves to the inside of Zach Churchill, and the yellow lights are on. The caution is out for the 4th time today as Bliss clears the 84 truck at the line, and it was her teammate Grant Edwards who was the cause of that caution. Towards the back, Edwards, undoubtedly driving a little angry after having another very good race go south due to circumstances not of his own doing, is going to turn Legend Hart down the front stretch. Hart, not exactly the luckiest of drivers himself, but he's going to continue without any further damage, and this is going to cause the race to restart with just 10 laps to go. Camden Rhodes leads over Brandon Haxley and Bailey Bliss to the green flag, and the leaders are right on each other's bumpers into turn number 1. You can expect things to start getting physical at this point in the short track race, as the top 5 stay in formation into turn 3, but Haxley into the corner is going to run a little wide and open up the door for Bailey Bliss to go to the inside, and the yellow is out again. Bliss barely beats Haxley back to the line to take over the 2nd position as the leaders take the yellow flag again. This time it's for Lyman Mills, who runs into the back of Ben Maddox and then gets turned around by Jason Miller down the backstretch. Nowhere to go for John Bennett, but once again there was only very light contact made, as this caution is going to cause the race to restart with just 4 laps to go. It's going to be a 1-mile dash to the finish, as Rhodes has a number of hungry drivers that he's going to have to hold off behind him if he wants to take the victory. The green flag is back in the air, and Rhodes gets another good start into turn 1, but here comes Bliss knocking at the door and getting into the bumper of the 62 a bit through the corner. But Rhodes is going to hold on strong and keep it down on the bottom, and the yellow is out again! The yellow is out as Rhodes leads Bliss back to the caution to effectively end the race. That was a very abrupt end to what was shaping up to be a great battle to the finish, but it looks like this is going to be an assured victory for Camden Rhodes now. Let's go back and take a look at what happened to bring out that caution. Grant Edwards, his day has gone from good to bad to worse, is going to get turned off at turn 2 by Scott Madigan down the backstretch, and he gets hit hard by Samantha Spires. Lyman Mills and Adam Ramirez get collected as well. None of those 4 drivers have been having particularly good runs. I'm sure they would like to put this race behind them, and especially Edwards in the 79 truck after such a good start to the day. But in the meantime, the final 3 laps are going to be completed behind the pace truck, and Camden Rhodes is going to take the victory at the Galesburg Speedway. It was a very slow start to the season for Operation JM, but this is now the team's 2nd victory in as many races. I think it's safe to say that they have gotten themselves back on the right track. Bailey Bliss finishes in 2nd place after another fantastic run from the 89, and Brandon Haxley, the Eldora racer who showed up just for this race, scored a 3rd place finish after leading several laps. A fantastic job to the entire 90R team. Brian Kelly, the points leader, comes home with a 4th place finish. We mentioned earlier that a lot of his points rivals failed to qualify for this race, but keep in mind that the 6 truck only scored 1 point at MIS, so he may as well have a DNQ of his own. That championship lead of his is very much well earned. Zach Churchill comes home in 5th place after another quiet but very solid performance from the 84. Archer Helms finishes in 6th after starting the race in last, and in doing so earns the Hard Charger award. Tiffany Rogers scores her best career finish after coming home in 7th. Jeffrey Jackson, after a good race of his own, is in 8th. Alex Rastin, in his first race behind the wheel of the 95, finishes in 9th. And Brianna Prinzhorn puts both of the Lake Erie trucks in the top 10 with a 10th place finish from truck number 7.